The children of our nation know little to nothing about 9/11, but the Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute is righting this wrong by helping teachers educate kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their nonfiction, first-person accounts are told through videos and the Discovering Heroes book series. The Institute offers full, scripted curriculum units with background for teachers, a speakers bureau for classrooms, a mobile exhibit that's an interactive museum with 9/11 artifacts and FDNY guides. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, I love Charles Barkley, okay? Because this guy is, I don't know, he's common sense, right? Sir Chuck, I get he played for the Sixers forever, and then the Suns at the end almost beat Jordan in the finals. Probably came the closest of anybody in the NBA finals, but like everybody else, fell short. Anyway, Charles Barkley has voted Democrat his entire life, and he's come to this conclusion that I think a lot more Democratic voters are coming to in terms of where is our return on investment? We vote for a party, yet I'm not seeing anything changing in my community in any way, shape, or form. Here is Sir Chuck in cut number 1. Go.
Democrats weren't too happy when Charles Barkley said this.
I voted Democratic my entire life. And I'm starting to think like, man, everybody in my hometown is still poor. Yeah. Man, all the black neighborhoods are still poor. They all go to schools, and we've been voted Democratic for 59 years. I've been on the earth.
59 years Charles Barkley has been on earth. And yet, like every other Democrat, it's like, okay, I keep voting for you guys, and yet you keep taking my vote for granted, and yet I don't see any changes in terms of my life. Maybe more and more people will understand the fact that if you vote for, what did Donald Trump say in 2016? What the hell do you have to lose by voting for me? And so many Democrats, especially in the media, thought that was the most offensive thing you could possibly say, but it's true. And now you look at the inflation report from today, where we have the CPI, which is basically core inflation. That's the true indicator, CPI, 2.4%. This thing was well above 9% under Joe Biden. And Donald Trump's policies already 1 year in are having direct result in terms of things becoming less and less costly, especially gas. Wages are up. GDP is way up. We have relative peace in Gaza. We have Iran, which is now nuclear free thanks to Operation Midnight Hammer. I could go through the list in terms of the Trump accomplishments, especially on the border, which also, by the way, has an impact on crime, because now we have murder at a 125-year low. And in general, everything being safer and more secure because we don't have terrorists coming into the country from places like Mexico and otherwise. So all that said, Trump's first year going quite well. A Dow that is now at $50,000. Many people thought that was impossible. Here's Donald Trump, the president, on inflation continuing to drop, and it will continue to go down as long as his policies are not obstructed by Democrats, say, I don't know, shutting down the government. This is cut number 6. Go.
And an upside surprise here, or a downside surprise, year over year at 2.4, had been expected at 2.5%. And I think one of the reasons is this rent of owner's equivalent rent coming in at a relatively low 0.2%, energy down 1.5%, gasoline down 3.2%, new vehicle sales up 0.2%. I am looking for the core number, CPI year over year 2.4%, ex-food energy. That came in at consensus plus 2.5%. And real earnings were pretty good, up 0.5% after declining in the prior month. So this looks like a good CPI number.
It's a great CPI number. Now, I apologize. I thought that was Donald Trump actually commenting on the low inflation numbers. Here it comes. This is cut number 10. I got to get my numbers right. Cut number 10. Go.
Very low inflation. We brought costs way down, and the numbers were surprising, except me. They weren't surprising. So the inflation numbers that just announced, as you know, are way down, and we have it back in track. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now we have very modest inflation, which is what you want to have.
Precisely. Meanwhile, Democrats continue to go to the far left. And it's not me saying that, an opinion guy on a radio program or on Fox News where I normally appear. Here are the stats, the numbers per CNN in terms of the Democratic Party and their voters saying, hey, would you say you're liberal? Would you say you're conservative? Would you say you're, in the middle? Well, things are going quite to the left, and that's not good for Democrats unless you're running in places like New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, Los Angeles, major cities. Great. Everywhere else, national elections like presidential elections, not so good. This is cut number 2. Go.
Than they once were. This sort of gives the game away here. Democrats who identify as very liberal or conservative. There used to be a lot of conservative Democrats, right? Back in 1999, 26% of Democrats self-identified as conservative. Just 5% said that they were very liberal. It was a smidgen. Now that far left has gained considerably in power. Look at this. Now we're talking about a fifth of Democrats. 21% say they're very liberal. That conservative part of the Democratic Party, adios amigos, goodbye, just 8%.
8% of the Democratic Party now considers themselves conservative. And again, under John F. Kennedy, all right? John F. Kennedy, president, had a 70% approval rating as a Democrat from 1961 until November 1963, Dallas, when obviously he was assassinated to shock the world. But in those just 2.5 years alone, JFK ran basically as Donald Trump in terms of the way he ran the government. He was total MAGA. He cut taxes like we have never seen in this country, period. Republican, Democrat, does not matter. And he did so, by the way, in a recession when many of his economic advisors said you can't cut taxes in a recession. He did the opposite in terms of their advice, went on his gut, his instinct, his education, whatever you want to call it. I wasn't around in 1961, but whatever he did, it was good because GDP went to 6.6% in 1964. 6.6%. Trust me. Plus 4% is good. Plus 6. That's incredible. And we had an economic boon in the 1960s, at least until the Vietnam War threw everything sideways. Nevertheless, JFK, in terms of bulking up the military, taking on the Soviets, and then saying that he believed in a merit-based system. Well, yeah, that's pretty MAGA. That was JFK. And Bill Clinton, same thing. Again, I don't want to hear about Epstein. I don't want to hear about Monica. All right. Those were personal, big, unforced errors on Bill Clinton's part. But the way he governed, I completely agree with 100%. A balanced budget amendment. The era of big government is over. Welfare reform, compromising with the Republican House. That's good. That's effective government. The guy had street smarts, and he deserves all the credit for the 90s being quite a good time also in this country. Now, you saw that and you heard that poll from CNN showing that almost nobody in the Democratic Party considers themselves in the middle or conservative. Like they would never support in 1,000 years welfare reform or a balanced budget amendment. It's all about spending as much money as possible and spending your way out of the problem like Zohran Mamdani is trying to do here in New York City. And I guess that's the solution, right? And oh, by the way, if you're pro-life, get out of the party. AOC said that. You don't deserve to be in this party if you're actually pro-life. And literally, there's only, I think, one congressperson that's pro-life at this point on the Democratic side. I don't think there's any senators. I don't think there's anybody that is actually pro-life in the Democratic Party, when they used to have a president named Jimmy Carter, who was a pro-life Democratic president. Imagine Jimmy Carter trying to get through a Democratic primary now. It just wouldn't work. And we even saw Michael Bloomberg in 2020. When he ran, I loved the way he ran New York City. All right, you could complain all you want about, banning smoking in bars. I was all for that, right? And that only helped restaurant traffic, bar traffic, when people thought it would destroy it. Nope, not quite. And just the way he ran the city, like he ran his business and runs his business in terms of Bloomberg, which is highly successful. And I thought as a Democrat in 2020, if he ran and got the nomination, that he would be quite formidable, given that he runs the country, or in his case, ran the city like he runs a business. And that's what people like. And that's why they voted for Donald Trump. One of the reasons anyway. And Bloomberg was knocked out in a matter of a couple of weeks because he wasn't too darn woke enough and too liberal enough. And that destroyed him, and he'll never have a political career again. Obviously, not the best public speaker, by the way, and being short, I hate to say it, that only goes against you. Meanwhile, we have Democrats who are completely and totally on board with this whole voter ID as racist thing, which is utterly hilarious when you consider that 76% of black voters are for voter ID. But nevertheless, here we have Representative, another Congresswoman you've never heard of, but hey, she's got a seat. All right. This is Yvette Clarke, talking about how voter ID is so racist, and here's why. And if your head hurts, well, your hair hurts. Understandable. Cut number 5. Go.
You just stated that the SAVE Act is an attack on civil rights and is racist. Could you just explain that further? Because 76% of black Americans support the SAVE Act, according to CNN.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, we find it racist because at the end of the day, it's targeting black communities with a cost burden. We've been through this historically, right? Where we've been prohibited from voting because we didn't know how many bubbles were in a soap bar. And so this is just a new iteration of that. And we're very focused on defeating it.
But if 76% of black Americans support voter ID,
I don't believe that's 76%.
CNN
well, that's possible.
Okay.
But I do not agree with it.
Oh, okay. So you disagree with an overwhelming majority of your voters. Not just CNN. It's not just one poll. It's every poll that is out there. 76, 78, 80% of black voters, Latino voters, Democratic voters, obviously white voters, agree you should have a voter ID when you want to rent a car, when you want to get on an airplane. And oh, by the way, doing the most sacred thing we could do in a democracy, vote. And this person said, I don't know if I believe those particular polls. Unbelievable. The bubble these people live in. And when they're actually confronted, and that was great reporting, by the way, whoever that reporter was, impressing on that in a very professional and respectful way. And this person sounded like an ass. I'm sorry. That's exactly what she sounded like. And if Democrats want to go down this route, I'm sorry, the midterms, if they somehow defeat this, and remember, it's not a majority vote. Voter ID, SAVE Act passed in the House. You only need a majority vote there. In other words, 50 votes, 51 votes, you are over the finish line. In the Senate, you have this thing called a filibuster, which does not allow anything to pass without some buy-in from the party who is not in power, in this case, Democrats. 53 Republicans will vote for it. And then you're going to see, well, you need 7 on the Democratic side, and maybe you'll get 1 like a John Fetterman, maybe 2. But in the end, it will be defeated there. And then the question, again, remains, should Donald Trump and Republicans, John Thune, who is the Senate Majority Leader, blow up the filibuster to pass this thing or not? Now, meanwhile, the president in Trump did issue an executive order just tonight saying that he will mandate voter ID for at least the midterms. And I want to see how this holds up in terms of, now, the president can't just decree something in terms of making it law. You can make something temporary, however, until it goes through the court system. I would imagine this will go to the Supreme Court. And then from there, let's see what the Supreme Court is made of, because right now it's a 6-3 majority conservative. In theory, John Roberts, maybe 5-4. But in the end, I'd be curious to see where this goes. But great move by the president, at least sending out an executive order. Keep this in the news cycle, because the more Democrats are asked about it, like they are in that interview, and the more they don't have answer for the fact that their own voters say, do not do this. We agree that if you want to vote, show ID like you do with everything else in life. I think, again, in the end, the more this is in the news cycle, the more it hurts Democrats, no question. This is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, folks, we are now, let's see, in New York City, about 3 weeks from a massive snowstorm that hit the city, one of the worst we have seen in decades. And that happens. That's fine. I grew up here in the New York, New Jersey area my entire life outside of a wonderful 4 years down at the University of Maryland. But at the same time, I have seen snow come and go, and I have seen mayors, whether we're talking about Giuliani or Bloomberg, or even, God forbid, de Blasio, who knew how to get rid of snow when it fell and garbage when it piled up. Well, we have a Democratic socialist named Zohran Mamdani now as the mayor of New York, media darling. This guy, boy, can smile his way through selling communism like we have never seen before. I mean, Vladimir Putin, eat your heart out. This guy has charm. Now, all of that said, it's now been 3 weeks, and there is still massive snow burying cars throughout Manhattan, Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, Brooklyn, and garbage on top of it. And rats now running around everywhere, which I know rats has always been a thing in New York, but now it's really, really getting bad. And now we have one longtime New York City resident, not a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form, goes on the TikTok, and this video went viral for all the right reasons, because she is saying what many New York City residents are saying at this point, including those who were dumb enough to vote for a Democratic communist in Zohran Mamdani as far as third world living conditions. This is cut number 4. Go.
There's no way that people are actually visiting New York City, or people live in New York City and they enjoy living here. I have lived in New York City my entire life. I have never seen something like this, ever. I've lived here 26 years. I'm currently driving through Canal Street. It literally looks like I just entered a third world country. Streets are absolutely disgusting. There's garbage everywhere. There's like cops just swarming the streets for no reason because they're not even doing anything. It literally looks like a cesspool full of people that are like imported here and placed here to ruin the city. It's like so disgusting. And then on top of that, you guys went and voted for an absolute imbecile to run the city who is going to do nothing except make the city worse. Wow. So enjoy New York City. This is definitely not the Big Apple anymore. I don't know what this is.
As somebody who lived there 26 years ago, I can tell you, New York City in the late 90s under Giuliani and then Bloomberg was quite nice. You can go on a subway at 2:30 in the morning and not even think twice in terms of, will I live to survive this ride? Or in general, things were clean and they were run well. And we had budgets that actually, didn't get into the billions in terms of shortfalls and deficits. And now you have a guy who, I swear to God, will be texting President Trump saying, hey, We got this big problem from a budget perspective because we can't pay for all the things we promised as far as free stuff. Like I'm Oprah and you get free childcare and you get free busing and you get cheaper groceries and government-run grocery stores. I cannot believe you people in Brooklyn particularly voted for this moron. If you did 1 minute of studying of the Soviet Union and Cuba and Venezuela, you would know that communism does not work. Yet Mamdani sold it and you bought it. And we're only, 6 weeks into this administration? And many people, buyer's remorse. Oh, man, that is a very generous way of putting it. No question about it, as my dogs are barking, which means it's time to go to break. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Breezy Johnson. That's a cool name if you're a skier. All right, as a skier myself, I've been doing skiing, recreational, of course, not professional, since I was, I want to say 9-10 years old. My Uncle Bill, who wasn't really my uncle, taught me how to ski in a place called Mount Stowe, which is really awesome. Very northern part of Vermont, basically near Canada. And ever since then, I've kind of had, I don't want to say an addiction, but junior high school, college, I always found a way to get to the slopes. Skied Park City once, which was awesome out in Utah. Not to sound pretentious or anything, but now I just do the Jersey thing with my son at a place called Mountain Creek, the old Vernon Valley. Class Action Park, they used to call it, of course. That was not so much the skiing, but the summer slopes, and that's a conversation for another time. But nevertheless, now that my son's into it, then I'm doing a lot more of it again. And it is like riding a bike in terms of you get in a pair of skis, and the skis I'm using literally are the ones I had in college. Like skis could get old, but they don't really age because they're all kind of the same. So now during the Olympics, at least during the skiing portions, I do watch because I always found it fascinating. And what happened to Lindsey Vonn was horrible. And again, nothing to do with her knee. She hit a gate. A gate is basically those things that when you're doing a slalom, you have to get in between, and her pole caught it. Just a random, completely freak thing that happened. And hopefully she's going to be okay. It looks like she'll be okay. So Breezy Johnson now is the big star on the women's side as far as the downhill. And well, you want to root for her. You really do, until you hear her in the post-game press conference, which, again, I just don't understand this. Michael Jordan once said infamously that Republicans buy shoes too, when he was asked, hey, why don't you talk about politics more? And he understood that his role was, look, I don't mind if an athlete talks about politics. Muhammad Ali did so famously in Vietnam, right, when he didn't want to go off to that war because he felt it was an unjust war and felt that blacks weren't being treated properly in the United States. So why should he defend a country that doesn't defend him or his race? All right, you could agree or disagree with that. And a lot of people rooted for Joe Frazier as a result during those Frazier-Ali fights because they felt that Ali was, not totally patriotic and American. I wasn't around for that, but I've watched enough documentaries on it. The point is that I understand political dialogue and rhetoric by athletes because they have a First Amendment right like everybody else. However, I don't see why Breezy Johnson has to go here necessarily, where she does in terms of sharing her sexual orientation, which apparently is quite open-ended. We'll put it that way. And again, I don't care. When it comes to like gay marriage or anything else like that, I don't care. I don't care who you're sleeping with. Like it's never been like a thing. And Republicans, I don't think anybody cares at this point, including like Republican lawmakers. This isn't a thing anymore. Yet, for whatever reason, Gen Z, in this case, Breezy Johnson, feels need to share this because, well, I guess it's all about being woke and something. Let's just play the cut and you'll see what I mean. Cut number 14, go.
I came to the conclusion that I was bi, and then very quickly thereafter came to the conclusion that I had to tell people that because
why?
They deserve to know that the world of champions is not just comprised of straight white people.
Oh, come on. Just comprised of straight white people. Oh, that's not racist or anything. You ever hear of Serena Williams? greatest tennis player of all time. Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player of all time. Roberto Clemente, Hank Aaron. You know, you want to take out the steroids, Barry Bonds. I mean, what are we talking about here? The world of sports is only comprised of straight white people. No one's ever made that argument, like ever. So you have to share that you're bisexual to make that point? And we're getting to a point now, I hate to do this, but you want to root against these people. Go Switzerland. Go Finland, Norway, who's actually leading right now as far as the medal count. But I don't understand why I have to share that I'm bisexual, because I want to make this point. What point? Who cares who you sleep with? Men and women in this case. Who cares? Oh, it's a whole bowl of wrong. And that's why I'm going to play cut 15 right now. Cut 15, Mr. Kevin. Because here is Elvis Presley, the king. Dolly Parton, 9 to 5. Great movie. I watched it a couple of nights ago. It just popped on. And it really is still funny. It's held up 46 years later. I believe that came out in 1980. Anyway, here is Elvis and Dolly talking about, well, why it's probably a good idea that entertainers stay out of politics and just, entertain. Cut number 15. Go.
Hey, Mr. Presley, what is your opinion of war protesters? And would you today refuse to be drafted?
Honey, I just tend to keep my own personal views about that to myself, because I'm just an entertainer, and I do not.
I'm not addressing that. I do not get into that. Of course, I have my opinion about everybody and everything, but I learned a long time ago, keep your damn mouth shut if you want to stay in show business. I'm not in politics. I'm an entertainer.
Oh, God bless you. Of course, they'd be called racist or, MAGA or something now if they made such a common sense statement. But nevertheless, Elvis, Dolly making a whole bunch of sense there. And that's why they had the staying power that they did. And Dolly Parton to this day, actually, I see her on, she's still awesome, right? And Elvis Presley, if not for the whole drug thing and gaining 300 pounds, probably would be performing to this day. But anyway, I leave it there. And I want to bring it to Mike Francesa. Yes, remember him, WFAN, 660 here in New York. Probably the best sports show ever with Mad Dog Russo in terms of what a contrast of two people, Abbott and Costello, of sports, basically. And it was must-listen kind of radio. Their ratings have never been matched since then. And sports radio is now a mess, quite frankly, in New York. It's just a bunch of guys like yelling, and it's a whole bunch of cheesy performance art. And I'm not a fan of basically everybody, Michael K. included. So the point is that here is Francesa talking about Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl show. You know what? I agree with him. I know I went off on Bad Bunny as far as, hey, can you speak some English? Like one word of English during your Super Bowl show. I know that nearly 10 million people turned their TVs off or to another channel during the halftime show. Numbers like we've never seen before as far as people leaving. I thought it was a bad idea by the NFL in terms of the brand in doing this. And they've been doing it for many years now. Kendrick Lamar, like, hey, a rock band has not played at the Super Bowl since 2010. And that was The Who. And they were 116 years old at that time. So I don't know, maybe just you could have the Kendrick Lamars of the world and the Bad Bunnies, but can we get Florida Georgia Line? Can we get, I don't know, a rock band like the Killers? Like, give me somebody where I see some diversity, because that's what it's supposed to be all about, right? Anyway, here's Francesa on Bad Bunny, and he's making a lot of sense here. Cut 16, go.
And listen, I don't care who the halftime act is. I didn't even know who Big Bunny was. Okay?
Big Bunny?
If you had asked me 2 months before the Super Bowl who Big Bunny was, I had no idea.
It's Bad Bunny, pal.
I had no idea.
Oh, Big Bunny.
Right? I wouldn't know one of his. I didn't even know he sang in Spanish. So, what the heck did I know?
I love that.
The amount of time and effort that was put into that analysis of that halftime show. Who cares?
Big Bunny. That tells you that Frances had no idea who he was. You're calling him Big Bunny. I guess it's kind of tall, but it's Bad Bunny, Mike, but that's fine. Love Francesa. Anyway, we will leave it here before we go to break. And this is Zoran Mamdani, your newly minted mayor of New York, who already is pissing off so many people. All right. It was symbolically such a wonderful idea to elect this man who's so slick on social media and makes communism sound cool to the Gen Z crowd. But Mamdani now is defending this guy who again, talk about defending the indefensible. This guy tried to murder a New York City police officer responding to a 911 call. And Memdani here is saying that this person should not even have been arrested, should not be in cuffs, should not be in jail, should be a free man. This is your mayor, New York. We're a long way from Giuliani and Bloomberg. That I do know. Cut number 17, go.
The Queens District Attorney is expected to bring charges against Javed Chakrabarti later today. I'm just wondering if you knew, if you talked to the Queen District Attorney about that, if you talked to the family. I'm curious what you would say about it.
So I think I caught the bulk of your question. I have not directly spoken with the district attorney. I will say, however, that no family should have to endure this kind of pain. What they need right now is care, dignity, and support. Javed should not be prosecuted by the Queens District Attorney. His handcuffs should be removed.
Oh, Chavez, we're on a first name basis now, don't you know? This guy literally tried to murder a police officer, and he shouldn't be in handcuffs? And we're worried about the family, what they're going through? What about the family of the police officer this guy tried to kill? I can't believe this person is mayor of any town, let alone the biggest, formerly greatest city in the world. Zohran Mamdani. That clip should be played on a loop, not just on WABC, on every radio station, every TV station across the country, and every Republican that is running in the midterms in November. Play that over and over again, because that is where the Democratic Party is right now. This is who they embrace. How many Democrats, honestly, spoke out against Zohran Mamdani when he was running, saying, I think this is wrong? Outside of, again, John Fetterman, no one would do it. They were too damn scared to upset the base because he was so cool and he's the future of the Democratic Party. All right. When you're supporting people who try to murder cops, I'm sorry. It's like supporting cancer. It's a whole bowl of wrong. And Zohran Mamdani, I cannot wait to see his poll numbers even a year from now, even in a city like New York, where there are enough idiots that will still support a guy like this, but not enough. I would think, I would hope. He's going to be in the 30s, the 20s. He'll be like Brandon Johnson in Chicago, who's at 6% approval in one of the bluest cities in the country, which, again, I cannot believe Chicago is that way. Having been there, having gotten to know so many people who have lived there or live there, you go to a Cubs game, it doesn't feel like it's, communism central, but nevertheless, wait till we see where Zohran Mamdani is in terms of approval. If he keeps going down this road, it is so wrong. And the fact that we have snow everywhere still in this city, garbage piled up everywhere. This is communism, people. You voted for this. Hope you're happy. Enjoy your latte in Brooklyn. This is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
Looking for a protein shake that tastes as good as it performs? Meet Rockin' Protein Max. Packed with 50 grams of fuel, it'll help you keep up when your day won't slow down. And because it's always creamy and never chalky, every sip tastes great. Even better, it's lactose-free and has 0 added sugar. It's not every day you find a protein shake you actually want to finish. Catch Rockin' Protein in the dairy cooler at a store near you. Rockin' Protein and Shamrock Farms are registered trademarks of Shamrock Foods Company.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So you got to hear this, because this is just the exact end game for Democrats as far as if they gain back power in the 2026 midterms. And remember, there is basically a 1 vote margin right now being held by House Speaker Johnson in the House, because you have the perpetual no, who is the waste of space, all right, who is the Kentucky congressman. We all know who I'm talking about here, because this guy over and over again just is anti-Trump like we've never seen before since, I guess now, Timu MAGA, who is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, Thomas Massie is now that guy. He votes against Trump on every turn and has voted with the squad, AOC, and her ilk more than any Republican. So what we're dealing with here, basically, if you are a supporter of the Republican Party and the Trump agenda, is it's not like you have a 40-seat majority like Newt Gingrich had in 1994 after those elections. You have a 1-seat majority. It doesn't take much for Democrats to take back the House. They don't have to have an A+ midterm. They have to have like a C- midterm, and you still have House Speaker Hakeem Jeffries. And then Democrats doing this exact thing to President Trump if they gain back power. And trust me, this is all we're going to see during his final 2 years in office, and it will get ugly. Cut number 7, go.
Well, I think this is about exposing the fact that you have incompetent, ill-qualified folks in the administration. Yeah. And it's also about showing that...
But if you win the House, are you going to try and impeach someone over this? Are you still going to be holding these hearings if you win the House?
Yes, ma'am. The goal is to win the House and then to subpoena everyone and investigate everyone.
Subpoena everyone, investigate everyone. Boy, that sounds like it really will improve the lives of your constituents, ma'am, of the American people. Lower inflation, like Trump is producing, that's really good for the country. And higher wages, that's good for the country. And then all the tax returns that people are seeing in terms of no tax on overtime and no tax on tips, well, that's pretty good for people. Yeah, not having Iran having a nuclear bomb. Yeah, that's pretty good. And Operation Midnight Hammer took that out. And peace in Gaza. So we don't have all of that war and all that money going to Israel as far as keeping that war going. That's a pretty good thing, right? And having a closed border, that's definitely a good thing from an economic perspective, from a national security perspective. And all Democrats want to do is, quote, investigate and subpoena everybody. That is amazing. And the reason why Democrats are so lost is because they're driving common sense people out of their party. And a little curveball here for you, Phil, but I want to go with cut 3 here. Cut 3, Mr. Phil, behind the glass, because RFK Jr., I don't think people realize, is a former addict, right? Drug addict, actually, which I didn't know. He's in such good shape, right? I mean, the guy can do something like 75 push-ups, no problem. It appears to be in phenomenal shape. And here he is talking about how he used to snort coke off of certain places, which kind of, I didn't see coming. But the point is that he's been sober for many, many years. And kind of a lesson here that actually 43 years he's been sober. This is cut number 3. Go.
I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. And I know this disease will kill me. Right. Like if I don't treat it, which means going to meetings every day, it's just bad for my life. So for me, it was survival.
I mean, it really is remarkable that I had no idea that RFK Jr. was a coke addict, and nevertheless, would literally snort coke off of toilet seats. I guess when you're in a public place, go off to a private place, and you need a fairly straight, firm area. Never did coke in my life, but I guess that's you resort to when you're an addict. And the fact that RFK Jr. has been sober now for 43 years and was saying that even during COVID, he found a way to go to a meeting and actually meet with people online to talk about his disease, as he said, something that could kill him. I mean, that really is remarkable to hear these stories, and it shows you how healthy he is now. So I saw a poll today, actually, that says that alcoholism, or at least not alcoholism, alcohol use within this country is at its lowest ever since Gallup polling began surveying this stuff. 54% of people say they drink alcohol on a regular or somewhat regular basis. That is barely more than half. And what we're seeing now more is, or are drinks that are, I want to get the term right. I believe it's THC. I apologize if I don't have those letters correct, but basically that's weed, pot, marijuana in a can that you could drink. I guess that relaxes you, but isn't nearly as bad for you. So apparently that's a big industry that's happening right now. But you see more and more of the alcohol companies are not making the money they used to, just like tobacco, same thing. I mean, I have parties now where there isn't one person that smokes, like not even like sneaks off and does something. It's not a thing anymore, not even close. Once in a while, you'll find a vapor, I guess, which is, from my wife tells me, she's an ER doctor, is far worse for you because of all the chemicals that are in those things. But this ain't the 60s or the 70s or the 80s or the 90s anymore as far as any of those things. And now even I went to a Super Bowl party last weekend where, there was one gal there that had like a glass of champagne type of thing. There was another woman there that had a glass of wine, like a glass, and that was it. And everybody else had nothing. Like that's where we are now. You say, well, that's not fun. Hey, what happened to the party atmosphere of this country? I just think more and more people are understanding that this stuff can be toxic, and it's fine, everything in moderation. But I think more and more now between drinking and smoking, it's not the society it used to be. Certainly, for sure, especially when you watch movies from the 80s and the 90s, it was prevalent. It was everywhere. It was accepted. It was glorified. And now you watch any movie and it's almost non-existent. It is amazing. So that is the culture change that is here in RFK Jr. Obviously, 43 years ago, he's gone from doing coke off of toilet seats to being the head of Health and Human Services within a Republican administration as a Kennedy, which is really, really remarkable. Anyway, let's hear from the Washington Post and their staffers, or at least the ones that used to work there. This is amazing to me because when you get fired from a job or you get let go from a job, you're not allowed in the building anymore. Sometimes they perp walk you out with your stuff. Sometimes they trust that you'll just leave on your own volition. And certainly you can't access your computer or your email again. But these people, despite being let go 2 weeks ago, still think they should be able to get into the building, do what they want, and access their computers and their email. This is delusional stuff. And these are people that work for supposedly a journalism outlet. Let's play cut number 9 before we go to break. Go.
Our plan is to walk into the building and show our right to work. Management has locked us out, and let us show them they can't just do it.
Yeah, they can.
Let's go.
Are we ready to fight? And they go in there, and then, of course, they couldn't get into the building and can't get back into their emails. That's just bizarre, delusional stuff, but that's the Washington Post, which ain't the Washington Post of your daddy's day, no question. This is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We're back on Sunday, 11 a.m., Monday, 9 p.m. Please do tune in. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
The children of our nation know little to nothing about 9/11, but the Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute is righting this wrong by helping teachers educate kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their nonfiction first-person accounts are told through videos and the Discovering Heroes book series. The Institute offers full scripted curriculum units with background for teachers, a speakers bureau for classrooms, a mobile exhibit that's an interactive museum with 9/11 artifacts and FDNY guides. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.